Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go. Welcome to Grit and Gravitas. We are in the studio with a super exciting guest today, Annie Carnathan. It is good to be back.
It's always the best part of a day, a week, a month, whenever we do this. It's fabulous. So you're right.
Fabulous for a couple of reasons, but it's National Podcast Day.
Woot,
that
woot.
doesn't mean this launches on National Podcast Day, but because we record ahead, as our favorite friends and fans and listeners know, ahead of time. But this is apropos. We were talking in advance of going on air that I think we have our youngest guest in the studio.
Yes, by a lot.
So,
Yes. Yes.
So we have Andrea Karns. Welcome, Andrea, who is VP of Sales and Marketing for Karns Foods. And if you are in Pennsylvania and maybe even New Jersey, people will have heard of Karns. You are a legacy business, grocery and retail. We're excited to welcome you to the studio today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on National Podcast Day.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
So let's start with a little bit of just backstory on you are a third generation Karns family, and the company was founded in
1959. So we just celebrated 62 years, I guess, at this point in time.
That's a congrats. A fabulous milestone, a family business, Annie, that has gone to the third generation and came through a pandemic. So there's probably not too many that are keeping company with you with those accolades or milestones.
Well, and there's almost no retail vertical that has changed more in 5 years than grocery.
Right.
So, and retail, really.
And you are now 9 locations with 1,200 employees or close to that?
Yeah, 9 locations, 1,200 to 1,300 employees. You know, it literally fluctuates by the day, depending on who's hired and maybe who's looking at different opportunities. We have a corporate office, and then we also have a commissary location where we do production out of. So that is a standalone building that, you know, makes deli salads and soups and the ready-to-cook meals that you see out on the store shelves. So keeps a different element of retail in a separate building, keeps us busy.
A really fresh one.
Yes.
So give us a little backstory on your journey, how you've taken some twists and turns. You didn't work your entire career at Karns, correct? So give us a little background on that.
Yeah. So the bulk of my career has been at Karns. You know, I jokingly say that my dad's been training me to work at Karns and work for him, as he is my direct boss. Since I was born. You know, he was my softball coach. You know, so he's been giving me orders for quite a while, and some tips and tricks along the way. So certainly I went to Elizabethtown College for my undergraduate, and both during high school and college, I was a cashier. I worked the customer service desk. Did lottery, and that was not a good time because people are very serious about their numbers, and that was not my skill set. They'd rattle off, you know, 9832, box this, give me the Powerball +1, and
you can't mess up the numbers.
You can't mess up the numbers. So luckily I was able to move out of lottery, but so I have that experience at store level. And so I graduated college with my degree in communications, minor in business, had some different internships as I got older through my education time period, took a break from the store to explore different items. And then my first job out of college was with the Muscular Dystrophy Association in Philadelphia, in a role that was as regional public affairs coordinator.
Wow.
What that means was I got to work during their busy time period and fundraising opportunities. You know, they do the MDA telethon and the Fill the Boot campaigns with the firefighters and other Aisles of Smiles, which is a grocery initiative with MDA. And that it was at that time when I'm working with national retailers, meeting with the president of the company in the aisles and working on press for them and doing different projects that I realized, well, if I'm going to work in a grocery store, I know where I should work.
Yeah.
I might as well work for myself and help my family's business. So I did return home after that project was completed. So again, the bulk of my time has been with Karns. I did eventually go to St. Joe's in Philadelphia for my master's in food marketing to gain additional experience because, a family business is excellent. There's so much to learn, but you also have these walls of group thought,
right?
Where you learn what other people have learned directly from them, and you don't necessarily have the filter of information in and out. And so that was important for me to go and step into additional education, additional connections of folks within the retail landscape, whether it be as a producer or flavor creator or sales reps. And St. Joe's allowed me to do that. So now I've been working for Karns for, longer than I can imagine at this point in time. So,
well, I'm sure you've collected a wealth of information. So as a female in grocery at the level you are, and I can't imagine you're not in the majority at your stage of your career, are you? How many women are in executive management in grocery?
I've seen a shift that's taken place over the last few years, which has been
good,
excellent. But certainly there are times when I am the only female sitting within the room, and there's certainly times when I am the only female and the youngest sitting around the table. And I don't take that opportunity lightly. I recognize that I have a voice that and a different perspective that should be heard amongst the peers that I'm sitting with. And maybe some of those people don't think of me as their peer, but I certainly advocate to have that acknowledged and the weight of my opinion to be heard. But I have seen it change. I've also seen the old school thought process still very much exist. Yes, where you look and you think, man, like, come on, it's 2021. Like, let's open up our brains just a little bit. But forward progress is good progress.
One of the most fascinating parts of that, and one of our guests said this, she said, it's one thing to get a seat at the table, regardless of how you got that seat at the table. It's another thing entirely to earn the seat and to be respected in the seat. That doesn't just come because you're sitting there. Right. And so how, you talked about St. Joe's, that was fresh eyes, right? You're bringing back this amazing, different perspective, much needed injection of just a different way to look at things, right? To a very, very established, well-entrenched business. And so what are the ways in which, even though you're going, did you just say that? It's 2021. We have to, sort of progress. How does a woman sort of be that instrumental voice and say, you need to listen to me when you really think, I don't know that they are so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish that there was that one size fits all answer. I've certainly sat at the table and there have been moments where I've bit my tongue and I've addressed after the fact, either publicly, like to a small group of individuals of like, hey, I was in this position. This was how I wish it would have gone. Can you help coach me through this for in the future? But then there's other times when you just have to stick with your guns, where you say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but I tried to break out some of those words of like, I feel, and have it be a more assertive stance. And I think often at times women, you hear it where if you're too assertive, there's different names that are called and I hate that. And it's not fair. And it's viewed as a negative, but finding your voice and picking your battles that you want to die on, that you want to fight, that you want to put the pressure on. And luckily, I think as we get into 2021 and further down the lines, when there are those old school mentalities and thought processes, more individuals around that table recognize that, and they're going on the same brain length of view of like, was that really just said? Was that thought process just dismissed, or that train of thought just dismissed? But having the ability to recognize when you're right, not just when you think you're right, but when you're right, and pushing for that moment of acknowledgement is so important. It's tough, but it's necessary because, like you said, you need to make sure that you are sharing your perspective
Right.
and having your voice heard, because 100% a seat at the table is just good for giving your legs a break, making
Just filling the seat.
making sure that you take the moments that are given to you to matter.
And one follow-up to that, Anne, I think one of the common themes is when to know, when to continue to push the passion of your convictions, and when to sort of back up and live to fight another day. And, we quit. It's in sort of this defeatist thing, and then it just pushes its way further and further down into us. And then that starts to define us. Well, wait a minute, right? There's not a person in business that wins them all.
Right.
We have to understand what we're gaining from that. And as long as it's maybe a seed for the next time, right? I mean, there's a lot of that. I don't want to say politicking, but building consensus is a better way to say that, to be able to earn the right to have the view. And we all know life isn't fair. And it's incumbent upon all of us to go, okay, but it is what it is. And how do we win anyway? Right? Through the unfairness or through the ways. But I think that approach is exactly what women need to hear for the ability to undo, right? Some sort of like just narrow thinking, just to expand it, even if you don't agree.
I think it's fresh to hear Andrea's take as a young mom. So you have a kindergartner, I believe, in school now. More women, we've talked about this in past episodes, have to say yes, either when they see an opportunity at the table or are asked. Now, a lot of them, it's not for everybody. The seat of governance, some people don't aspire to, male or female, and that's fine if you don't aspire to that. When you are asked or when you see an opportunity, absolutely be bold enough to say, I see you have an open seat on this board or a committee. I'd like to serve. And you raise your hand, because I often say, no one's going to knock on your door and say, hey, I've got a new vendor for you to try. You have to be proactive in those areas. Women have to step up when they want to serve and make it well known. It's almost comical around a board table. I've never, ever seen a man raise his hand to speak. And I've been at many board tables where women are like, what,
That's
they're
interesting.
waiting. Just say it. If you're not going to bust in there. And lots of times, we wait until we know everything before we speak, or we've done all the research. And I learned, long ago, that's never going to happen. And a lot of my peers aren't waiting for that, perfect moment. Just state your opinion, use your voice. You're at the table, take advantage of using your voice. And I do think for women, it's incumbent on us to bring others along with us. I'm sure a lot of women in grocery and retail, Andrea, are watching your every move. Like, where is Andrea serving? What kind of leadership is she doing? And we'll get to the pandemic in a minute. Because you're probably one of the lone voices in central Pennsylvania, maybe not the larger Commonwealth or mid-Atlantic, but certainly in our neck of the woods, watching how are you rising, and what kinds of, positions are you serving on?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. And I agree with you on saying yes, that is an important item to take place. I also encourage women at the same time when they're asked. So maybe it's not an opportunity that they see, but
Right.
when they're asked, if it's not worth their time and their energy and it's not going to get them to where they want to
Amen.
go, say no. And that's a
Amen.
hard thing for women oftentimes to do, whether it's a personal item or a professional item. It's okay to say no and say, you know what? It's not going to get me my goals, whether that goal is spending more time with my family, or that goal is a new job or a new appointment or working with a specific nonprofit.
Yeah.
Your time is so valuable.
No.
It's one of the few things that you have 24 hours in a day.
Non-renewable.
Yes. And so I find those opportunities that you want and say yes and go after it. And I'm going to work to not raise my hand anymore, but at the same time, know when to say no.
But no one wants to sign up for the Sisyphus position. It doesn't matter what it is. Sitting in the chair isn't enough. And Sisyphus didn't even like rolling this stone up, only to absolutely every time have it roll back down. And if you can't have influence, if you can't move things forward in a positive direction, then it's just it's a paper tiger. And women don't say no, because when you say yes, regardless of what it is, you're saying that is the most important thing right now. It's like taking a call if you're in a meeting. Well, wait a minute. You just said that call is more important than me sitting in front of you. There's all kinds of nuances. And I'm not signing up for Sisyphus if I can't make a demonstrable impact. I have more important ways, to your point exactly, to spend my time.
And I have found when I surround myself with people that remind me to do that. I have 2 older brothers, and they're just this morning on a phone call, one said, is this going to grow your business? Is your time well spent here? Because I have, a true confession. I have a problem with saying yes to everyone, and even Marissa on my team said, just because you can doesn't mean you should, Ann. Can you help? Yes. Should you help? Whether that's in media, whether that's in anything, who doesn't want marketing people on their board?
But one thing I'll point out as a consumer, as someone out here, Ann talks all the time about no matter what she schedules for you, if it's an early morning segment on a news show, that you show up.
Almost.
That's yes though, right? Because that's so meaningful. And the easiest thing for you to do would be to say, no, I have this, and you would, right? And that requires a lot of different things to happen so that you are able to say yes. But the impressive part of the 3 of us is making those choices and then living with them positively, not in a negative way.
No, absolutely. Let me touch a minute, Andrea, on COVID-19. There was no industry. I mean, hospitality was, brutally impacted as well. But grocery, you all of a sudden not only became a community health resource, you became a frontline essential, really at risk. Your family, your business, your livelihood, your bottom line, your team, at risk of some serious consequence if you didn't navigate this. And now I know some of the insider information from working with you, but give us a little lens, like what was the first week like for you?
Oh gosh. So I remember in January-ish, December-ish, where we started hearing about COVID-19. And of course, this is all taking place over in Asia. And then it was Italy. And the conversations I'm having with my team members of, well, it's going to come to the United States. What's it going to look like? What will that mean for us?
Like, were they serious conversations?
I tend to be more of the worrier, the more proactive, the more, oh no, we have to get ahead of this. Be
prepared.
Yeah. Personality within our company. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's way overreaction, too much nervous energy going on. In this situation, it was the correct nervous energy. So as a company, we started ordering supplies and doing what a lot of the national chains were doing because, they're bigger. They have more thought processes that are able to sit around and think about national pandemics, international pandemics, of which some, if you think about Giant Ahold, they were already experiencing it in different areas. So different countries were already being affected. So some already knew what they needed or what steps they were taking. But we started ordering supplies, both, protection equipment. We started ordering gloves and
did you think this was just like from a different planet? I mean, we've never had masks in our and you start like ordering them. Did you think, is this really going to happen? Or
yes. I had no clue. Masks we were not, unfortunately, as like, people are going to need these. At that time, the CDC was saying to us, like, no, you don't want to wear masks. That's not what you should be doing. And on March 13th really is the date that I have down. March 13th, 2020 is the day where it exploded within our central Pennsylvania community. It was the day, I'm in the stores and all of a sudden I'm seeing shoppers coming in wearing masks.
Wow.
And we had a few team members who were wearing masks and, we actually got some complaints from people saying like, that's scaring me. And it's like, well, if they feel good about it, then let them wear it. I'm not going to tell someone you can't wear that. Very happy we did not do that as knowledge progressed and how we executed progress. But that's the day that I remember thinking, okay, this is so much bigger, so much at that time scarier than what we realized it was going to be. And then it was just a whirlwind for about three months of trying to get our mental understanding, get our physical understandings in place, of getting our physical barriers in place. You know, you talk about the plexiglass up and 6 feet advocacy and implementation and just craziness, you know, and to say then it fell into kind of step of, okay, this is where we're at. These are the steps we're taking. And, you know, we've had some shifts take place over the last 18 months, but we're still in it. You know, we're still executing and wearing masks and sanitizing and being aware of out of stocks that are occurring. So it's an ongoing item. I look forward to when we get to truly take a review back and say, oh, remember when? Because I feel like we're still too close to it. Still in it.
Any leadership insights you could share with us on what, like, did you have a personal checklist that helped you, you know, prepare for the decisions which had health consequences and protecting, you know, keeping supply chains going or making sure people had access to food and pivoting to e-commerce? Maybe that was the first time, I'm not sure or not if it was, but in Andrea's mind, what did you run through? What helped you make these decisions?
So a big item, I would say it was a twofold item. Number one, talking internally, you know, my dad's great. He is very supportive. He believes in making decisions and moving forward. He's not the guy who's going to sit around and ruminate
on that.
Yeah, like, okay, well, let's do this and that. And so he gave the ability to make a decision on how we proceeded, that flexibility, the finality of it. But at the same time, recognizing that we were going to make changes. And that was what we really communicated to the stores, where, hey, this is where we're at today. You know, today, this is what we know. These are the steps we're taking. This is the process I'm asking you to follow for sanitation. This is the process I'm asking you to follow for team member check-ins in the morning. And acknowledging next week, it might be different, change. You know? So just recognizing that it was all very fluid, like, but you need to do this. It might change, but you need to do this right now. At the same time, I'm also part of a share group. So across North America, there's maybe 30 of us retailers. We're all non-compete. Wow. And we were sharing experiences and advice fabulous. And even artwork across all industry, you know. So a retailer in Canada within our share group was saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Here's some ideas. This is the process we're utilizing. So I was able to connect with other industry professionals that in very real time and reach out with support and even some vendor resources like, hey, does anyone have a source to get fill in the blank, you know, these paper masks right now? And then we would share that information. So that was also a huge benefit.
So were you in that group ahead of the pandemic?
Yes, I've been in that group for probably about 4 years, you know, in talking about having other feedback and voices and experiences and education. That is why I'm part of that group.
So that could be, I'll preempt you with whatever business vitamin you're going to share toward the end. That would be a business vitamin for anyone in whatever career. If you aspire to leadership, like surround yourself, and you said non-compete, you know, people in your industry or space that you don't aren't in your backyard or you're not running up against RFPs with, to be like a personal board, to kick around ideas that you would learn from their insights in real time. I think that's a great idea. And Annie, you probably have a couple of those too.
Phenomenal. I mean, I try to guard against the echo chamber, where it's just sort of you're getting back what you're giving, whether it's the position, whether it's the personality. And I think that education for sure brings back, just again, fresh eyes, fresh information. Here's how it's being informed and taught. And how does that compare? And I'm constantly getting the feedback from my leadership team because I don't have all the answers. And I don't necessarily excel in whatever they do. And so it's to trust the people you're trusting and people who are in it doing exactly what you're trying to do in it. is to me the epitome of a share group, and why you take your time for that. Because again, you're voting with your time, and there's only so much of it in a day. And what are you giving, and what are you getting back from that? And I think the second we say, we're sort of there, no, we're going to get run over. It's never a destination. It's always a journey, and we have to keep moving. And to keep moving, I think we have to keep listening.
Yeah. And probably your college training or courses in communications, helped you in this vein to be to clearly communicate with the team exactly, where you understood the company was at this point in time on this day, not tomorrow. So they would come along and support you. You're in essence the general, and you want them all to follow you every single day into battle and do, you have to stock the shelves, or you got to, deal with customers that might be scared coming into the store, and line up very clearly what's the response supposed to be to that. So I can, sympathize with the kind of pressure on you and the whole family as you navigate that. But anyway, thank you for all you did,
and our own
of us.
family, right?
Yeah.
So as a mom, as a daughter, as a wife, I mean, are you kidding? There's that whole where you're fearful for that,
Right?
And so what's happening with your daughter? What, is she good? There's just so many dynamics that are in addition to leading at work, and it's very stressful.
No, I know. What is in the future for Karns? And you?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, those seem to be very intimately tied together. So yes. We look at the retail industry. You referenced earlier that over the last 5 years, it's changed so much, and really like 5, 10, 15, you can just keep going back and see the changes, how it keeps morphing, whether it be how it's changing competitively or technology,
Right.
like the technology going into it. So we're aware that we have to keep growing and changing. What that looks like from a Karns perspective, right now we're doing a number of technology updates within our stores, really investing within the back end, which for a lot of folks, it won't make any difference on their shopping experience until it does.
Yeah.
It's one of those items where it's going through, and then we have to work through implementing that technology and training our team members, but eventually that will make the impact for our final consumers. We have some expansions planned for brick and mortar. And, the question is always, are you any new stores? And we are always looking, it's just a matter of finding the right one. I've always said it's not about the number, it's about the right number. So you don't want to just add stores for the sake of adding stores to say, hey, now we have 10, 11, 12. If it's not the right location, if it's not the right demographic, what does it matter? You want to set yourself up for success, not failure. So how I play into that, I feel an immense amount of pressure and responsibility in looking at all our team members within our company. We're an independent retailer. There's not a lot of those out there anymore.
There's not.
I just view my job as having to continue to assist each and every one of them in having their futures with Karns, and how can I build them up? How can I build our company up and ensure that we are strong enough to continue growing and growing them professionally and personally and moving into the future. So, my job title is sales and marketing, but I do a little bit of everything, and with the ultimate goal that we just continue to be a strong player within the central Pennsylvania community and keep everyone where they're at and growing and looking for opportunities to be stronger.
Well, that's a mark of a great leader, that you feel that burden of responsibility to take care of 1,200 families. So that's a lot more than 1,200 people. That's, children, and there could be, other generations living in the homes of your workforce as well. Any advice for women, like how to aspire to more leadership, how to find a seat at the table, or it could be specific to grocery?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So much of it I view as finding, like you said earlier, your opportunities and picking your battles, So kind of blending those two items together. So if there's an opportunity and there's something you believe in and you truly believe that that will take either your company or yourself to the next level, be prepared to break out whatever you need, the armor, the swords, to make it happen.
To fight for it.
Because no one else is going to do it for you.
Right.
And you can't fight every day because you'll be exhausted. And the battles that you lose, let them go. It's not worth sitting around stewing on, but to continue just pushing yourself and pushing what you truly believe is best for yourself, for your company. And you will get that headway, continue, like you said, education and putting yourself in the position to grow.
Well, that was a lot of business vitamins.
I was just going to say.
That was a moldy vitamin. That was a moldy vitamin.
We just had about 3 business vitamins there. So
all exceptional.
I know.
And just like that, poof.
Are we done already?
That's the bat clock over there that I'm watching.
Andrea, we have to have you back. So that's clear because we, sooner or later, I think we need to have hour-long podcasts. I think so.
Anne says we get to do whatever we want. It's our show. And so, whatever she wants. That's what I want to do.
And it's probably out of narcissism that we choose our guests because we want to learn more about you and hear about your journey and tap in directly to what advice you would have for and
every woman needs to hear it, quite honestly, because no one has a playbook. No one gets there in the exact same way. And if we can cut down the learning curve even a little bit for another woman, wow, we win. We win.
Well, and in my world of PR, if I had $1 for every female, especially who said, I don't want to brag, I don't really want to talk about myself, to which I challenge them, and thank you for accepting the challenge. If we don't tell our stories, the younger generations, the 20s, the 30s, the 40-year-olds behind us will not know the career path. They won't know what mountains we were able to climb. And I think part of our goal here is to shorten the learning curves of young men and women. Go right, don't go left. We've talked about our setbacks and comebacks many different times. And it's kind of a roadmap for people. Like, don't do what I did. This didn't turn out well for me. Go this way. If you want to start a business, you want to be in a family business, here's some tips I've learned. So we could have Andrea back to talk about family businesses. We've had an episode on that too, because we're both in a family.
We sure are.
Businesses. So Andrea Karns, thank you for being with us in the Grit Gravitas podcast
and thank
studio.
you for our gifts. Andrea brought us gifts.
I know.
Come on,
I'm going to have to use that tonight. Barbecue
huge.
sauce. I know. Was it women-owned, veteran-owned?
Yes, ma'am. But Pennsylvania owned as well.
Pennsylvania.
So a true trifecta right there.
I know.
Check those boxes.
All right. Have a high gear day. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.